Hi friends, and welcome to my weekly stream about the Uno platform. My name is Jérôme Labon. I'm the CTO of the open source project Uno platform. And every week I'm taking a look at the development that's happening in the Uno platform space. Developing specifically features, debugging, looking at issues that have been opened, or discussing everything that we've been doing for the past week. Last week there wasn't any because we released Uno 4.3. So I'm going to be just discussing this a little bit so that we have a look about this and a few other news that have been happening in the past day or so. So that's going to be good. So let's take a look at the issues that at the Uno platform 4.3 release. So quickly on the 4.3 release, we updated our Figma plugin with all sorts of new features and the ability to integrate your designs that are coming from your designers and getting your Xaml into your application. What we've done is add a bunch of fixes here and there, and add the support for Material v3. So the new sets of rounded corners that are happening here and there, and new colors and new controls. So that's one of the few things that we added. We're also providing a new application, which is the Uno To-Do app, which is an application that allows to test all the Figma integration as well as the Uno extension. So Uno extensions is all about increasing the productivity for developers. So we're talking about a new navigation system so that your application is able to cope with all the form factors and navigating to deep pages and things like that. So you can go take a look at the Uno extensions repository. And there's also Uno Reactive, which is a way to provide dynamic data management for applications and being able to have reactive programming style without reactive extensions specifically, but being able to have a more declarative way of binding to the data from the UI down to your view model. So you can take a look at all this in our Uno extensions repository. So I talked about the Figma update and the Fluent style. So you can take a look at that. We are providing Figma files that you can take a look at, so to create your applications from Figma and then push that to your application. So just talked about the extensions. It's the Uno To-Do app. So it's a repository. You can go to that repository and take a look at the code and experience what that application is going to be doing. You get even a nice demo on how to take let's say the splash screen, for instance, in Figma and put that into your application. We also included our new Visual Studio template wizard, which allows you to select which platform you want to select when you're creating your application. And that's been asked quite a bit over the years, and it's become quite important with the new number of platforms that we started to target. Also know that the new templates are now targeting WinUI and WinApp SDK. They were previously targeting UWP. So we're moving forward and providing this template as a default. Makes it quite different. And the important part is that you can select the targets that you want. So if you want to target WebAssembly only, if you want, then you can just select that one, and that will do. You don't have to integrate all of them, and it makes the templates, the brand new experience a lot less let's say intimidating, to say the least. So that's for the template extension. We fixed a bunch of other additional issues, like that people were hitting most of the time, like if you create a template with spaces in the name, then it could cause some issues down the line. So we're preventing that kind of things. Also know that this template is best used in Visual Studio 2022. So 16.1 preview 3. Preview. So 16.3 preview 1.1. It's a mouthful, but that's what it is. So you can install that one here. So it's 73 preview 1.1, and that's going to be it for that support. So that comes with the .NET 6.0 300 mobile RTM support. That's what the .NET team has been releasing last week at Build. and it's working pretty great. So if you want to upgrade to this, you have to go and run Uno check. It even works on the Mac M1 now. It's something that we've been working to get to work properly. One of the other things that we added is the Xaml markup extensions, and that one is actually quite important for people that are coming from WPF. And the important part here is that you can actually do something that has been asked a lot, and it's the ancestor binding. And it's actually something that we've added just a few hours ago. And let's go take a look quickly. I think we have added documentation about it as well. Let me check about this one. So let's go to Toolkit, and it gives you an idea of the things that we're able to do now with ancestor binding. So it used to be a little bit different. So I think it's a helper. There you go. So it's an ancestor binding that we're adding. It's not in stable yet, but it's going to be pretty soon. And the idea is that it's pretty close to what we had previously, which is the relative source find ancestor mode. And now you're going to be able to do things like this. So if you want to, let's say, data bind the horizontal alignment value of the list view ancestor of the text block, then you can do it using this specific markup extension. And that's pretty good because it's something that was missing. And if you wanted to implement this by yourself, it was quite complicated and complex to build properly without leaking memory and things like that. So that's something that is possible now. So you'll be able to take a look. If you want to take a look by yourself right now, you can. You can just go and pick up the latest of the Uno Toolkit UI packages and use that in your application. So it's compatible with Uno targets as well as WinApp SDK targets. It's not a feature that's available for UWP also. So just so you know, you can't use that in that target. So that's for the markup extension. So that's a very good extension, and we're sure that a lot of people are going to be using this to migrate from WPF. Like if you want to do, let's say, multi-bindings and things like that, that's something that is possible using the extended markup extensions. Another thing that we added is the grid syntax for WinUI 3. It allows you to avoid writing that kind of things, which is a lot of column definition and column definitions and others. You can just write the succinct syntax like this. Column 0, column 1, and then that's going to allow you to get for a simpler or shorter syntax to get for grid definitions. That's a good one. So this one as well is also available only on WinUI targets. So if you try to use it on UWP, it won't work, unfortunately. And that's something that Microsoft has not backported, and that's not likely to happen. So just so you know. And for the rest of 4.3, a few new additional fixes like the support for network API, network information API, or memory consumption improvements in VS Code, things like that you can go and take a look at. And also one that was added by MicroHobby. It's the Wayland support for Skia GTK backend. So that's one of the things that makes it very interesting. So you have a hardware acceleration now for 4.3 and Linux support. So today we're going to be looking at two issues, depending on how fast the first one goes. It's the support for ms-appdata. And the other one is going to be taking a look at the one that we were looking at 2 weeks ago, which is the support for convert back and converter triggers. It's probably something that was not working properly. So we're going to be trying to figure this one out. But let's go take a look at this one first. So ms-appdata is actually quite interesting. It's a scheme that can be used in images and a few other locations inside of a WinUI app, but basically allows to get a local file from the application itself to read that file and basically use it as a source for an image. And at this point, it is supposed to work, but it doesn't look like it is properly. So we're going to be doing something and take a look at what should be working and it's not working properly. So let's go and create a new application and let's see what happens. So we're going to be recreating that repro and creating a file at that location and take a look at what we can do to get there. So we're going to create a new app, and you can see here that is going to be Repro 8909. So there's that new dialog box for the creation of many projects. So what we're going to be removing is the targets that we don't need. So we don't need all of them, and it's mostly Skia. So we're going to be using the GTK and WinUI heads for now. And let's create this and see if we can reproduce the issue. Okay, so first, we're going to be adding in the main page one small thing. So let's go and add that specific thing here. So let's replace the grid completely. That's going to make it easier. And we're going to have to create that file. So what the idea is that if you specify local here as the base path, it's going to go and look up in the local folder that's mapped to the application current local folder here. So what we're going to add though is the, let's transform this into a stack panel. I'm just going to write text location. And we're going to display that content here. Oh, that's interesting. The cursor is going up again. That is new. Okay. It's probably something that changed a little bit in the latest preview, because it was supposed to have been fixed, but it looks like it came back. Interesting. Okay, so we have this, and we're going to set the location in the constructor directly. And we're going to do location text equals the local folder. And it's supposed to be location. There you go. So we're going to do path, just so that we take a look at the right one. So if we start the app, it should be working properly. So one of the things that we changed also is you can see now that there's only one Windows project. When you were using previously the version of the templates, previous version of the templates, we were having two projects. One that was using the packaging for the new packaging format, and the second one was something else, and it was not working properly. So now we're using just that one. So, okay. So what we have here is the path to the local state here. And what we're going to do is put a file there and ask the app to load the file. So what we could do is take the file directly there. Let's put a file there. So we're going to go get a new, let's take a small asset. So we have many inside of the Uno project. So the samples app here. Let's take one of the assets there here. So not that one. Let's take one interesting asset. Let's take the ingredient here. Okay, so we have an ingredient here. So the file is a content, and that file is by default going to be provided as part of the package content. So what we're going to do is take that file and copy it to that folder here. So let's make a function here. Let's make it a task for now. And because we're going to have to use a bit of async, so it's application data. So let's go take a look. I never remember the name of this. So let's go to the documentation. We're going to search for. Oh, we also made a lot of updates to the documentation if you missed it. So we have top level categories like these that allow for easier search for all this. So if we search for storage, let's go search for picker. I don't know if this one is going to give us what we need. No, not that much. Let's say the storage. No, not that one either. I think it was file management. Okay, so that one. So it's the storage file get file from application URI async. So basically what you can do is, I'll take that code pretty much, and we're going to integrate that into our startup app. And in the ms-appx here, so that's the ms-appx is from the package of the app itself. We're going to be taking the ingredient3 PNG, and we're going to be copying it to the local path folder so that we can restart it load it at the next startup. So we don't have to go look for the actual path manually. Okay, so we can do. Let's go this. I should probably do copy async. It's probably going to be easier. Yeah, let's do this. So we can do copy async, and we can await this. It's a folder, and then we copy it. So I think we implemented that on Skia, if I remember correctly. That's interesting. It looks like, it's probably because the package were not restored. Let's restore the packages properly. So that's a remnant of the test that I made. So you can see here that I was testing pull requests. So that's why there are things that are not working. So let's go and update to the latest. So it's 4.3.6. That's why you can see that I'm using my demo machine to do some testing before releases. I didn't change it for the past week. Okay, so it builds properly for Skia. So let's start the app for WinUI, and we're gonna go take a look at the location of the path here and see what we have. Okay, so hitting the breakpoint. Let's go to that location here. Okay, the folder is empty, which is good. Now let's execute all this and see if the file is available. The file doesn't look to be available, so maybe we missed something, or maybe the file doesn't exist. That could definitely be. So file not found. Okay, so the file is not found, so that means that we probably missed something. So let's see. Okay, so the file doesn't exist. So maybe I forgot something with the file here. So it's supposed, it's in assets, that's why. Okay, so you can see here that it's in assets. So all files are based on the share project root. So that means that you have to add assets here. So let's try again. So we got the file, we got the content likely. So we didn't get the content. This because it's not a text file, of course. So I picked up the lines that were coming from the website, but that's not the right one. Okay, so we copy the file. Let's see if it's at the right location. It is at the right location, so that's good. And now we have our file at the right location. So it was copied automatically. Now we're going to take that ingredient file and put it in here and see if we have some content showing up. So it should be. So let's see. We should be having a nice fruit showing up at the back. There you go. Okay, so we have our fruit showing up. So what happened is that we were able to load the file from the local path here because we copied it. We copied it to that folder, which is provided by the local path folder. So now what we're going to do is do the same thing, but using GTK, and it's likely that it's not going to work. So one thing that we have to look out for first is the fact that the location of the text file is not at the right place. So for instance, if you take a look here, you can see that the local path folder is the global folder for my machine, which is not good. It's supposed to be an app-specific path, and we should be doing something to get around this. So what I'm going to be doing for now is I'm going to let it run. It's going to write the file at the wrong place. We're going to troubleshoot the other one afterwards. So if I take a look again at the path here, so of course it's going to write the wrong place, but that's fine. So did it write the file? It did write the file. So it's not correct. That's fine. We're going to test it and we're going to be removing the file afterwards. Okay, so that means that copy async has been implemented. I think Martin Zygmunt implemented that specific feature. So let's continue. So you can see here that the image is not loading. So that's not good. So we're expecting the file to be loading properly. So now let's go take a look at the logs and see if we have something that could help us troubleshoot why the file is not loading. So we can see here that nothing shows up. So that's a problem. In the bug, there was a path to where we're trying to load the file. So we can see here that we're doing an image source. We're doing a few things to determine if the URI is in ms-appdata, and if it is, then we're doing something. So let's go take a look at that file specifically. So the good thing is that when we're debugging with Windows, we can take a look at the solution folder, and we have the external sources here. And in the external sources, we can go and figure out where we have the media. So we were saying this image source here, and we're going to try to put a breakpoint at the right location. So the one that we're looking for is URI is ms-appdata, and then we're doing things like init from file, and we're trying to convert one path to the other. It could be that we're not doing something the right way. So for some reason, those files, the breakpoints are not working. I'm not sure exactly why. To allow for this breakpoint required source to exactly match the original version. Okay, so we could try to do something like this. It looks like a bug in Visual Studio, but I'm not sure. So we're going to do what they ask us to do. Require source file to exactly match the original version. So we're going to remove that one for now and see if we can hit the breakpoint. It looks like for some reason the files are not matching, but it's not supposed to happen because we're downloading the file from a specific hash. So maybe there's something that broke somewhere. Okay, so let's restart the app and see if we hit this location specifically. Okay, so we're hitting the location, and we're trying to load local ingredient, which is good. So it says it is a URI ms-appdata, so that works. And the file path is supposed to be user my name ms-appdata local ingredient 3, so that's good. That is the right path to get. And we're setting the file path here, and that's it. That's pretty much what we're doing. We're setting the URI to the ms-appdata, and it doesn't look like we're doing much more than that. It's interesting that we're not returning right away. It may be caused by this. And I wonder if we should be jumping around this one. Let's see. So we're setting this. Let's skip. Ah, that doesn't work. So we can't skip it. Okay, so we can't jump around, so that's not particularly useful. Okay, so we know that loading from files actually do work, because if you set the file to the image source using set source, it works. So that's one thing that should be working, but there's probably something else that's not doing the right step. So let's go figure this out. So to do this, we're going to be overriding Uno. So to do this, we go to the latest package in development. And so we're going to be upgrading all those to the latest Uno. So it's 4.4 dev 132. And we're going to be overriding that version with a version that we have locally. So let's let it download stuff around. And when we're inside of Uno, we need to go to the sources here. I'm going to be changing the cross-targeting override props file so that we can specify which version we want to override. And once we have it, we can take that version, put it in Uno here, and then we're going to be debugging the net standard 2 version of it because that's the Skia backend that we want to troubleshoot. And then we open the Skia filter. So in that case, we only want to override the Skia runtime because it's going to be building everything down the dependency chain. So let's go and build this one specifically. So there's one thing that I did last week or 2 weeks ago, which is changing the build system so that it actually uses the Roslyn generators instead of using the Uno source generation tasks. Probably going to be doing the same here because it's going to be taking a while to build, and it's better if it builds faster. That's one thing that we could change. Well, let's see. So we have so it looks like it's restoring things. Yeah. So NuGet, it's taking a while at the beginning. So 30 seconds to restore. That's a good number. Okay, so it looks like I opened the wrong file for some reason. Because it says that I used here. Specify language targets for Xamarin Mac is not the right one. Looks like I missed something. So let's do it again. So let's unload the project. We're Uno. We're using net standard 2 as the override. That's the right one. I open Skia. That's interesting. Well, maybe that's the restore that didn't like it that much. Let's try again. So maybe it's the latest version of Visual Studio that's not helping me at this point. So we're going to figure this out. So let's see what kind of error messages we get. Okay, so this time the restore is looking good. Okay, so that's good. I don't know exactly. Oh, no, there's a few things that are still missing. Ah, yes, I know. Okay, so that's one new thing. So if you're installing Visual Studio 2022, so the latest preview, they disabled Xamarin. So the .NET team that disabled Xamarin completely. So basically, they want you to use MAUI, and the Xamarin SDKs are disabled by default. So that's not good, especially for people that want to do this. So basically, when you have this, you have a Xamarin iOS that's failing for some weird reason, and the reason for this is that well, the SDKs are not there. Okay, so dev is failing for some reason. I have to kill it manually, otherwise the setup won't work. Let's see. That's much better. So hopefully it won't take too long to install. But that's one of the things. It's a gotcha for the installation of the latest tooling from Visual Studio. If you're updating to the latest, you have to make sure that the Xamarin SDK's checkbox is checked. Otherwise, you won't be able to compile anything with MAUI with Xamarin. So the legacy versions of it. And in our case, inside of Uno, we're building for the targets that are in for Xamarin all the time, because we still do support the Xamarin targets, and we're probably going to be doing it so for quite a while. So there's that. Let's see. Yeah, still verifying the packages. Okay. So for the other issue that we had, what we're going to do is probably going to try to piggyback into what we saw last time, and try to understand why we're not getting the exact sequence of events that we should be having. Basically, what we're trying to get is a sequence of events for which, when you have a two-way binding to something and you put a converter on it, the converter should be invoked again when the value is bound back to the view model. So we need to get the value back again, and that's not happening in Uno. And that prevents quite a few scenarios, like the one where let's say you manipulate the value that needs to be displayed to the user in the text box, for instance. So that's something that we need to fix. Okay, so it's finishing up. Let's hope it won't ask for a restart. It shouldn't be, but you know, sometimes it happens. Did I upgrade the right one? Yeah, I did upgrade the right one, because I have 3 versions of Visual Studio running, but okay. It's green. It's green. Okay, let's go. So let's try again. Let's build Uno, and let's build we have our application there. So if that's standard, that's there. We need the Skia one. And then with the other application, we're good. So we're going to be overriding everything up. And this time it should be building properly. So there you go. So we want to build the Skia GTK1 specifically. Among the other things that happened during the past 2 days is the ability to support WinUI. So Skia Sharp in WinUI apps. That's something that was not available before. So we've been working with Microsoft so that we can get those new get packages to support the WinUI targets. And there's quite a few other things that we're going to be adding afterwards, and we're going to be talking about it probably next week. But it's going to be very good. Darren is saying that's great. That's great for what? Is it for Skia WinUI? Is that's a good one? It's been asked for a while, and it's not a small change, but yeah, Skia plus WinUI. Okay, yeah, it's a good one. It's so for that one, there's it's actually WinUI plus Net6. So it's there's a WinUI targets plus the Net6 targets as well, and that's going to be good for people that want to develop for using Skia. So for instance, we have live charts. Or I think there was another one with mapping, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the name of the library, but there's a mapping library that needed that as well, because they wanted to target WinUI as well. So there you go. There's pretty much only one thing that is breaking between the WinUI one and the UWP one, and for the WinUI one, what is changing is only the namespace. So it used to be skiasharp.views.uwp, and now it is skiasharp.views.winui, or Windows, sorry, Windows.windows. So there you go. So that's pretty much the change that you get when you get to WinUI, but otherwise it's working great. Okay, so it built. Now let's see if I try it again. If I go hit the right breakpoint, so it should be the case. So let's see. I should be hitting a good breakpoint at the right location. So if I go, so that's not the right one, but let's see if I go like this. No, it opened something else. Did I miss something? Oh, probably didn't rebuild. We have to rebuild first. Otherwise it doesn't pick up the changes. If we need to update a multi-target library tutorial for all these target variants, you mean about Skia or what in particular? Because in general, you know, the current version, let's say you add a new project here and you do Uno platform library, that library is going to be just getting all the targets at once. It gets, you know, Net6, Net Standard, then iOS, Android, Catalyst, and others. So that's pretty much. And there's a bug that we're going to be fixing. This is not right. But is that what you were referring to, Darren? So let's see. So that I can remove. Okay, let's try again. Well, there's no wizard for the libraries. It's mainly just one target at the top to remove. So we're not doing it at this point. But you know, maybe if it makes it easier for people to read it, I don't know. So are we getting to the right file now? We're still not getting to right file. So maybe it didn't override the right files. Let's take a look. So we overrode 132. Is it the right one? I would guess so. So maybe it's because we're not getting the. So I unchecked an option over there, and it's maybe because of this. So it's require source files to exactly match the original version. Okay, so that's the one that I need. But we're going to be troubleshooting this. So in here you can see that it's not updating anything, and the breakpoints that are hit are from they're not from the right location. So it looks like we're still getting to points where it's not doing the right thing. So we can see that Uno UI is still using the other. It's still using the other ones. So that means for some reason the file that we're picking up is not the right one. Okay, so in here, see, it got reverted back somehow, so that's why. Okay, so let's go and pick up the right version. So we want 132, probably because I didn't save the file after I did the update earlier. So let's see. Let's rebuild, and we should be hitting the breakpoints. The right ones, actually. So the ones that are coming from the sources that I just built. We should be disabling this. It's making a lot of exceptions. Okay, so I'm going to be removing this because it's not helpful currently. And what we want is the breakpoint that's inside it's the image source. So we open that file in our project, and let's go put a breakpoint again. Okay. So we're going to try to figure out why when we're doing init from file, it doesn't do anything. Probably we should be refreshing something up and we're not doing it or something like that. So, okay, so it's still not hitting. So let's go take a look at the file that are located in the folder here to make sure that we're using the right ones. So in the bin folder, we get the Uno UI DLL here. So we're just going to do properties on it. Okay, so there's a digital signature, so it's not the right one. So it could be that because we actually used that specific folder, it didn't override the right file, so we're going to be doing it manually again. So let's do a small rebuild for this. Yeah, well, that's a rebuild. So most of the time, and that's a few things. So because of the restart of Visual Studio, it happens that way. But the idea is that when you're building your application, you upgrade to a later version of Uno, then it installs one specific version, then the files are located on disk, then you override using Visual Studio. I wish that it was something that was possible in Visual Studio to reference one solution from another, or an updated version of the NuGet package, so we don't have to do that dance of local files. But unfortunately, that's the current state of development for this. Maybe it's going to change a bit in the future. We can see here the source generation host is running, so it's probably one optimization that we can make and use the other one. So the files were copied at the right location, but maybe we're missing something. So let's go see if we rebuild all this. What do we get? And actually, there was an error that has shown up that says that the file was not the right one. Okay, so let's see, do we hit the image source again this time? We're still not getting the updated version of it. Okay, so there's something that's definitely wrong with all this. We're not copying the file at the right location, so we're going to figure out why that is happening. So we're using overriding this one, but we're supposed to be getting another version. Skia GTK. Okay, so you can see here that it's not using the right package for some reason. And that package was not restored, so it's definitely wrong. Okay, so that's probably one of the reasons all this is failing. So let's see, what do we have here? Ah, it's the WinUI one. That's why. Okay, so that's why it's not working. Okay, so we're not in the right location. So that's something that is interesting to take a look at. So one of the things that we're doing in Uno is that the sources inside of Uno are actually the ones that are from UWP. So we can see that everything here is called WinUI, Xaml, media, something, and we need to convert the source tree to be WinUI compatible. So let's do this. It's something that I haven't shown on the stream yet, so it's probably something that is of interest here. So let's do this. So if we take a look at the file here, so we need to disable a few things first. So let's call it props old, and then we're going to be opening a Visual Studio command prompt. Let's see, command prompt. Okay, so it's that one, and then we need to go to the build folder here, and in that folder there's a file that's named convert source tree to WinUI. So in here we just do this, and then what it will do is make a gigantic change for all the sources that you have in your repository to convert the whole source tree to be WinUI compatible, and so that's why the override is going to be working. In that case, the override was not working because we were building for the UWP sources and not the WinUI sources. So that's why we're going to have to change this time. So it shouldn't take that long, about a minute or so. So what's happening here is that we're building, so we're restoring all the NuGet packages for all the targets that are in the solution, and then we're adjusting a few files, but we're also running source generators so that we're just having the right namespaces at the right locations, and so that everything looks correct. It looks correct when you're building for WinUI. So that's the main idea of that conversion script. So what takes most of the time is basically just running the restores for NuGet. Yeah, and you can see that it's downloading quite a few things here. Most of it should be here already, but okay. So we're building. So we're generating all the mixins. So it's the it's something that we had that we had previously that was not, because we didn't have access to Roslyn, so we were using T4 templates for some of the content of Uno, but now we don't need any. We don't need it that much anymore. It's just there because we don't need to change that much. But if we were to do it again, we probably would use not use T4 templates, but use the just plain Roslyn generators instead. Those files are located here. In that folder. So if you go to do Uno UI folder and you take a look at the UI folder, Xaml, there's a set of templates like a dependency properties implementation. So that one is a T4 template, and it generates all sorts of stuff that we're generating now. We're using C# source generators instead, because it's easier to manipulate, and you get access to the actual source semantic models, which T4 templates are not able to do. So, and we're regenerating a few things like taking the APIs that are coming from WinUI and generating all the files that are the right ones for that target. And eventually, what we're going to do at some point is have the source in Uno to be WinUI, and have a converter that allows the conversion from UWP, from WinUI to UWP on CI, so that that is going to be when WinUI is going to be in the right location for us to move away. So it depends pretty much on how many things we're going to have to debug in UWP or versus WinUI. So when it becomes a burden to have to convert the source tree every time we want to make a change, then we're going to be adjusting there and change from UWP to WinUI. So you can see here that we're generating all sorts of stuff, and that's all the generated folders that are here. So if you take a look here at the top, there's a generated somewhere. Probably going to be we're not at that location, so it's not there yet. But let's see, for Uno Foundation, there's a generated folder here, and you can see all the files that are generated from the WinUI APIs at the right locations. So there's that. So it's running for all the targets that we're supporting, and there's quite a few of them. So all the Xamarin, iOS, Android, macOS, and others, plus the Net6 targets. So that's a lot. And that's it. So let's see what we have here now. Yeah, it's generating again. So it's a process that takes a while. We could probably parallelize it a bit, I would guess, because we're not doing too much. That is cross-cutting, so it's probably something that we could change. But it still takes a while. So we're in Skia. Yeah, it's still running a few of them. So we're in dispatching now. So dispatching is is an interesting one. This is an assembly that's been added as part of the Uno 4 wave, and that one was important because we wanted to have the matching assembly names when we were running for WinUI versus UWP, and that part was not there at that time. So it was making a bit difficult for us to split the concerns between what Uno is doing and what the Uno UI is doing and what dispatching is doing. And there are some pieces of WinUI that do use the dispatching, but that are not UI based. So that's actually quite interesting. That's why we had to do that change. And it's the same for composition. So some of the composition APIs may be used by packages that don't need to do some XAML UI, but now that's possible using Uno. Okay, so we have lots of caching that's happening. And I stay there on purpose because I want to show you what's happening once you're done doing this, that conversion. Okay, so the conversion is done. And what's going to happen is that when you take a look at Visual Studio, and it's going to have a hard time a little bit at the beginning, but basically you have a lot of changes. Yeah. So what I do generally is I make a branch out of this, and let's do this. ms-appdata. And I make a commit with only the changes that were needed for converting from one to the other. So I call this move to WinUI. So I commit this, and then once I'm done, and I need to push something to make a PR or something like that, then I rebase using an interactive mode, and I remove that specific commit. McNets, thanks for joining. We're doing some WinUI stuff and image source on GTK, trying to debug this. Okay, so now it's WinUI. Now we can restore the file that we changed the name. We changed the name of that file here. Then we can open the Skia only filter. Oh, it was already opened. I forgot to close this. So let's close it just to make sure that we're reloading the right things. In previous versions of Visual Studio, doing this would have just crashed Visual Studio plain and simple, because 7,000 files changed while Visual Studio is opened. That's a lot of files, and it didn't crash, but it will probably crash when closing the solution, maybe. Yeah, doesn't look like it's happy with the change. Yeah, that's not too happy though. It was happy while it was running, but not afterwards. Oh, that's not too bad. Let's close it anyways. Because it's a lot of changes, so they want to be not want to having it crash. Okay. So we're good here. So let's open the Skia again. Skia filter, and we're going to be building specifically for the version that we had here, so we can use it from this target here, the repro case that we had on the other side. Looks like I stressed it out a little bit too much, because I was not doing this before. So it's taking a little bit of time doing an MS build stuff, but I don't know what that means. So it looks like it's doing something with MS build in a single thread for some reason. So if it still doesn't work, what we're going to do is do a bit of cleanup. Yeah, still not working. Okay, so we're going to clean up the solution manually, because for some reason this is not working well. Okay, so we go back to Uno. Okay, so it's closed. So we're going to be going to the .vs folder. I'm going to drop that one. Try again. So in some cases, for the Uno solution, sometimes the .vs folder kind of caches a few things around, and it's not working well. So I can try again. Hopefully this time it will load. It's very slow this time. I don't know. Maybe it's because I removed the cache. That could be as well. Nope, still not happening for some reason. Okay, so maybe there's something lingering. Let's see. Maybe we need to do a bit of task kill. That's a lot of MS build. Okay, so we removed all the MS build, so we can try again. Maybe there was something that was staying in memory somehow. Okay, there's no MS build running here. Let's try again. Yeah, MS build is still happening. So maybe we need to clear a few more things. Oh, that's not good. Let's do one more thing. So we can probably repro something for Microsoft. So let's go and debug Visual Studio and see where we go. I feel like the guy that comes to his house and wants to change the bulb, but to get to changing the bulb, it has to do a few other things before, and every time he wants to do something else, he needs to fix something else. That's what it feels like. Okay, so we have Visual Studio here, and if we pause, where do we land? I don't know which thread that is, but let's see. Threads. There it is. So we're on the main thread here, and it's blocked on complete on current thread for project multi-threaded service execute async. But what is it doing? Notify prioritize solution event syncs. It's the solution open. So okay, so it's a project load loop that's blocked on something. It doesn't say what. Okay, so not particularly useful here. But did it load? No, it didn't. Okay, so we're going to change something else. So cleaning the VS that didn't do anything. Probably something else that we can do. So we're there. So did I remove? There's still .vs, so maybe it got corrupted again. Who knows? But we're going to do one more time. So git clean fdx is the next hammer for the nail. Let's see if it will help a little bit more. Sometimes it's because there's not a Visual Studio opened, so we'll see. Maybe that's the issue there. Clean takes a while as well. I don't know why that happens, but oh well. Okay, no, it's removing a lot of files. Okay, that's that would be expected. And we're going to be opening it again and see if we can reproduce the loading issue. Okay, so Uno. So now because we've cleaned fdx, that means that the override file is not there anymore, so we have to add it again from the samples. And we need to set the right version of Uno as well inside. It's going to be this one. And we want net standard 2. So fingers crossed, does it work? Let's see. still doesn't work, it could be the other Visual Studio. Ah, okay, so for some reason, the build content didn't help. Okay, so not going to look further for now. It works. That's not what I wanted to do. So let's rebuild for the target that we need. Okay, so let's see if we are publishing to the right folder. Okay, so we have a few issues here for the generation. I wonder what that is. What it contains? Okay, so probably we did something wrong. So it looks like we have a few things to fix first. Oh well. Okay, so let's revert this for now. I'm not going to troubleshoot this during the stream. It's not particularly interesting. We're going to be fixing this differently. So let's revert to this one. And we're going to be using a non-WinUI template instead for now. It's going to be easier to manipulate. Okay, so I need the solution Uno here. So that one is good. And we're going to be changing the template here so that it uses Uno UI instead of Uno WinUI for now. So to do this, we need to change a few things, and especially everything that's called Microsoft UI.xaml. And we're going to convert that to Windows.ui.xaml. We're going to have to unload the WinUI project because it's not going to like what we did that much. There you go. And so that one didn't need to change. Okay, Visual Studio is hooking onto the file for some reason. Okay, I'm not going to change the file. Oh, it worked this time. Okay, so Microsoft UI XAML that we have. Are we building properly? Let's hope so. So that one doesn't exist. So launch activated. So that is not here as well. Okay, so this time we're good. And we should be able to override it. So now the application runs using UWP, the UWP API set instead of the other one. And we're going to be able to build the Uno solution properly with the right version this time, and actually debug and what we were trying to do before. So MakeNets, we're trying to debug a feature in GTK. It's the ms-appdata feature. And we're going to have to change that. I found a few issues along the way, so I'm going to have to figure those ones out. But just going back to the ms-appdata first. Okay, so composition, and we're overriding Uno UI this time, and we're using Uno UI on the other side, so that's going to be good. We're going to be having the proper override. Wondering if we should be having a branch that always has the latest master converted to WinUI automatically. Maybe doing this as part of a GitHub action or something. So you can take the latest master, just check out the branch, and it's going to be always up to date. And and so you don't have to convert anything if you want to just quick troubleshoot with WinUI. Probably going to be doing this, something like this, because you as you've seen, sometimes locally it doesn't work. Probably because I had the solution opened, and it shouldn't have been. So could be something like this. So it's going to be something to look out for. It's to ease up the troubleshooting of WinUI things. Okay, so we have the right one. Let's see if we open the file that we had before. So it's image source here. Is it the right one? Yes, it's the right one. We have a breakpoint already, and we have to rebuild, otherwise we won't pick up the new file. And this time it says, oh, we made a small change here. An API change that we made before, but that's not the big deal. We do break. Okay. So that was hard, but kind of had a roadblocks in the middle. Okay, so we have app data that's working properly. We have the proper file path that's set. We're setting it to the file path here. And the file path is just one specific file path here. It doesn't give much. And then we're setting the web URI here. Web URI is setting image loader. So probably, I don't know what that one does. So let's go figure out what that one does. So let's go, I don't think we can jump into. Okay, so we can't jump into. Okay, so we do we have an image loader? We don't have an image loader in this case. So it doesn't change anything. So it could be because we're missing just a reload. Could be something like this. Because it works for the others, but it doesn't work for this one. So if we set, let's say, if we go back to image source, when we set a URI instead, so we initialize from URI, we set the web URI, and it works. It does work even if we set it that way. So we're creating the image source, so that's good. We created an image source from the URI, which is good, and then we're setting that to the image. So that means that we're going to be reading the image source file path at some point. So let's find out when we're doing this, if we're doing this. Okay, so we're reading the file path from init from file. Looks like we're changing it somehow. And we're doing this something here. So we're setting the web URI and we're invalidating the source. Okay, so we have the new URI here and we're invalidating the source. We're not requesting anything, so we're not updating anything. So that's not good. So what are we doing? We have the request open here that may not have been invoked. Let's see all the path that we're getting. So we're having request open. We're trying to open the source async. We don't have a stream, so it won't do anything. And we're not having anything here for opening images. Okay, so we still have another one that needs to be called, which is the open here. Let's see. So that one, where does that one go? So we still haven't opened. tries open async. So this one is doing from a stream, but we don't have it. Still not doing anything here. We're trying open source async with a cancellation token. I don't know what that one does. So it creates a surface, which is good. So we have URI async here. Okay, so we have a URI source that's set. And that's why. Okay, so we have, that's interesting. So we have here the bitmap image for Skia that's trying to open the file using HTTP and HTTPS, and then it tries with ms-appx. But in here we're with ms-appdata. And ms-appdata should have worked, but because we're not doing anything here, it doesn't work properly. So we probably should be able to do something here. So let's try to go this one instead. So path inquiry. We have a path, but it's using scale path. That doesn't work. So it's using get scale path. Yeah, okay. So it's trying to load from ms-appx, and that one is not right. Okay, so let's fix this. Let's fix this one. So it's actually that we're completely missing the ms-appdata support, so we can add it back into Skia. So let's go and open that one. So we can add another block here. So if we're ms-appdata, appdata, and we have already a source that's been mapped already. We have the source that's been mapped already, but I'm not sure if we're going to be getting the right content at the right time. So we assume that the file path has been set, but is it the right one? Maybe not. Actually, we don't have access to it at this location because it's set an image source, because we're in bitmap image, not image source. But we get the bitmap source at the back, the bitmap source and image source. Oh yeah, now we get access to it. So we could probably try to read it. Okay, so let's see. We have we're in ms-appdata, and we have file path that was set previously because we set the scheme to ms-appdata, and we parsed the path properly. So that should be it. Let's see. If we rebuild the Skia GTK head again, we should be getting access to now the ms-appdata branch here. Should be having access to unified path and open from stream. So that should be good enough. So Skia GTK builds fast. Good. Okay, so let's rebuild. So we pick up the changes from the right location, and then should be good to go. Okay, so we know that we're setting the file path from init from file, and this one is setting the file path here, so that's good. And then, so we're reading this, validating the source again. And for some reason we didn't get to, oh, there we get it. We got it. Oh, it's probably was loading everything up. Okay, so that's good. And then we are at the right location. So we have updated local ingredient 3.png, and if we let it run, we have a big, oh, well, there's a problem with the, oh, that's interesting. That looks like a bug with, that's interesting. Okay, so the image is loaded, but we have another issue there. I think it's probably related to the issue that we had before, It's probably been fixed already or about to be fixed, but let's take a look at this and see if that helps. Let's see if we do this, if it works better. Still the debugger that's taking a lot of time to load, but anyways. Okay, we have the file. There you go. I'm still having that weird thing. It looks like we're having that's something we're gonna have to take a look at. Okay, so that's probably something weird. It's hey Corgi, I didn't know you were watching. Yeah. It's yeah, it's actually something that was not there at all. So it was not implemented completely. So it's just that piece that's not there. One interesting thing is that we're gonna have to test this one out, and adding a test for this one is gonna be interesting, but we should be able to do it. Should be able to do it, though it's probably specific to this, but a runtime test should be able to do the trick. I'm still puzzled about this one. It shouldn't happen. It looks like it's a scaling issue that happens when we're resizing the window, but yeah, it's not good. Yeah, it's not good. So it's probably because it's not supposed to do this. Definitely not. Okay, so one more thing to figure out. Okay, so that's one thing. So let's spend a bit more time to figure out how we can runtime test this. So we have runtime tests somewhere here. There we go. So runtime test.skia. And we're going to be able to validate all this using tests. And let's see. We have imaging and bitmap source, but I'm not sure if bitmap source is going to be the right one. Let's try it anyways. Okay, so we have this one. Let's just duplicate this one, and we're going to say when ms-appdata. So we have a bitmap image. And we're going to set the source. So the reason why it worked, Corgi Hero, is that you were using set source async using the stream that you read. So it was using another path. So this time it will use the actual location to do the right file loading. So we're going to be using the actual URI source instead. So this one is going to be URI. And we're basically going to be using the same thing that we had in the repro. So the same file here. And we can probably take the same file. I don't know if we do have resources, but I don't know if we have assets in this one. Probably not, but we can probably embed one somehow. I don't know if we have one. UI test, helpers, extensions, resources. No, it's just resources. It's not. I would have thought we had we had assets, but we don't. Okay, we don't have assets, but we're gonna have to invent one that's coming from another location, and that's gonna be fine. There's probably one that's already available somewhere in there. If we take a look at the Skia head here, I took it from here, so it's probably already here. Ingredient 3, yeah, there it is. It's here. Okay, so we can probably use that one there. So we're going to be doing the same thing that we did in the startup here. So we're going to copy the file to the output. And that's going to be it. So we're going to take the assets ingredient 3, copy it to the local folder so it's the same name, and So we have the bitmap image. So I don't know if we're going to have to, we're likely going to have to map it to, yeah, we're going to have to set it to something else. So those tests are not manipulating the UI, so we're going to have to take it from another one. So let's say app bar button, for instance. So we have the window content frame. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the content frame to an actual image control. And so image here, window helper. So we set the image, and then we're going to set the URL, the image's source to the SUT that we have built. Okay, there it is. And then we're going to have to wait for something. And in that case, I don't think we're going to be able to wait for the event. So let's see if we can use loaded event here. In this case, we're going to have to make a task completion source. TCS. And we're not in .NET 7, so we don't have task completion source with no parameters, but no type parameters. So that's one we can change. Try set results, set true, and that's going to be it. I would guess. I'm going to be awaiting for the TCS task. That's going to be enough. So if it loads properly, it should be, the test should be finishing properly and should not time out. So that's the idea. So to run the test, we need to start the GTK app, and let's build this and see what happens. So Uno was built already, so now we're building up the chain, so everything that leads up to the samples app Skia GTK project. There shouldn't be too much of it to build. So we're building the fluent theming. So we're building the runtime tests. It should be working properly. Or at least IntelliSense was not mentioning anything. So we're building the Skia head for the samples app. And then the GTK head specifically. So that one is reused for both WPF, Tizen, and GTK. It's actually reused as well in the other one is the frame buffer one. So when you're using Linux and you want to do some frame buffering, so you want to display some frame buffer stuff. So there's definitely something that's not correct with the way we're rendering OpenGL stuff here. Let me fix this for now. It's not particularly important for this case, but we're gonna have to fix this. It's definitely not good. Host. It's because I'm using a very old version of Uno. That was fixed. I remember now. So I should probably, it's using something that we had before. So if I look at the history, it dates back from the 17th, and we fixed a lot of things since then. So that's not there anymore. So that's why we're seeing all those jittery stuffs that are happening at this time. So yeah, just so you know. So we're just rebuilding the samples app Skia, which is good. A bit less to build. And there we go. Okay. So what does it look like? No, it's still failing. Why is it still doing this? That's super odd. I'm not going to be able to test it because it's gonna fail the it's gonna fail. Maybe I should be let's try it. Let's do a small rebase. So let's stash everything. So what do I have here? Remote git, so we're gonna fetch for origin. I'm just gonna be rebasing that branch. There you go. Okay. So of course there's a lot of stuff that happened since then, so we're probably going to be needed to restart everything. So let's go back again. Just going to be unstashing the things that I had. It's going to be that one. Yeah, there's a conflict for sure, but I don't care. That was changed and that's good. Okay, so let's open it again and we're going to be rebuilding that one and hopefully it's going to work. So not to self, I think it's the way to say it. Not to self. Use the latest master when streaming. It's easier for for having a straight path instead of having to deal with all those stuffs in between. Okay, so that's gonna look better this time. So of course I changed it because I rebased. There are quite a few things that changed in between, so we're gonna have to adjust a bit more. But this time, I would think that the UI is not going to be jittery as the one that we saw before. So yeah, that's one that we changed so that the GTK host is now using OpenGL, but there is actually one thing that we're going to be backporting from the 4.4 branch where the hardware acceleration is not starting up as it should, not detecting OpenGL the right way. So in some cases, it's not using the hardware acceleration. So that's not good, but we're going to be changing this in an upcoming update. Okay, building toolkit. Yeah, and you can see that most of the time is spent in the source generation. So I think I'm going to be changing that one as well. Changes last time and it was faster, so it's going to help for testing. And it will consume a lot less memory as well. You can see the source generation host is you're taking quite a bit of memory. Okay, so let's see. Does it jitter again? I hope it won't. So if it does not, then we're going to be able to run our test and it doesn't. Okay, so we actually fixed it. That's the good thing. Okay, so still having a few exceptions that are slowing down everything up. But if we go back to our bitmap source and we search for the ms-appdata, we go to unit test here. That's the button at the top. Still doing exception throwing. Okay, so we go here, we paste the name, and then we run, and then it does given bitmap source, and it looks like it's failing because it's not marking the thing as loaded. So it's the loaded event is probably not raised or something. Already, oh, so the test was retried, and we can see that that there's an item name that's already there, but it could be the actual write issue, because the copy async is not overriding the file. So we probably should be overriding the file. A desired new name. So let's use the same name. But what we want to have is name collision replace existing. So let's try that one. Let's try it again. So the tests do automatically retry because it's easier in some cases where we don't know how. Sometimes there's issues, transient issues, or things like that. So it makes it easier to validate things. But in that case, it's a problem because we're running it multiple times. But we're still running the application using the local folder, and the file was not in the right place. So we need it to be overridden every time. And there's the other bug that the local folder is not at the right place. So we're gonna have to change that as well. Probably going to be using the app name or something, so that we, it's not an install app per se, but at least it's a different path that's going to be in the app, in the local folder instead. Okay, so we're going to do this again. Same thing, ms-appdata. I'm not going to take a look at those yet, but there's definitely something that we need to fix here, because it takes way too long to troubleshoot and to understand what those issues are, those exceptions are thrown. Anyways, okay, so ms-appdata, and there you go, it ran. The thing is that it didn't stop. So it could be that the loaded event is not supported properly here. So it works, but it not completely. So that's an interesting thing. It's supposed to be something that's cross-platform, but probably we haven't done it the right way here, or maybe it actually is working, but we're not waiting it properly. So let's see. There's a timeout after a while. Okay, so we can see here. Oh, it's another issue. The timeout is very long for this one. It looks like we're not canceling anything fast enough. We could probably do a smaller timeout there. Okay, so let's try it manually. Actually, we can't say that we can do this here because there's the remote control stuff that's taking a bit more time. Well, we're going to try that next week, but we're going to be taking a look at why that loaded event is not raised. But anyways, so that gives you an idea of how to fix this one. Probably going to be pushing this later today, I think, or during the week, so that we have the ms-appdata support for image source or bitmap source. No, it's a bitmap image on Skia. So I hope you learned a bunch, and it was interesting. I found a few additional things that need to take a look at, namely the fact that the conversion didn't work properly, or making a branch or something like that to help for getting to faster troubleshooting of WinUI. But that's pretty much it. So have fun, happy coding, and see you next week. Bye for now.